what's up? This is me, L Teddy 27, Angry Teacher Chronicles. This is my review again for Queen Sugar, Season 4, Episode 3. Before I get started, I want to give a quick appreciate you to everyone that has recently subscribed and those people who just watched the review. I've gotten a lot of great feedback about the Queen Sugar reviews, and I'm glad you all like it. Appreciate you for liking and so forth. Those who subscribed and all of that stuff, thank you. I guess you like what I have to say, and I'm grateful. I'm appreciative. So I wanted to give that bit of thanks to each and every one of you watching these reviews. Let's get started. Hopefully I continue to live up to your expectations. So let's get started. So we start right out with Aunt Vi. She's in the mirror. Perfect place for her to start off, because here we have her looking in the mirror and she's confronted with herself. She has to really take a look at herself after being confronted with everything that Nova wrote in a book. So she's taking a real self-assessment by looking at herself in the mirror, really focusing in on, her past and what she has experienced. So I think there was great symbolism there with this look in the mirror at the start of the episode. And we'll also end the episode with her and this self-reflection. Hollywood then comes to check on her. And they talk about how she stayed up all night reading that book, just being confronted with her past. So there's great, as I call it, circular writing, because we're going to start this episode with Aunt Vi being confronted with her past and end the episode coming full circle with Aunt Vi being confronted with her past. This is just some great writing this week in this episode. Next we have, and they don't cut us no slack. Right after that, bam, here's Jimmy Dale at the diner. Right away. Jimmy Dale is at the diner. He talks. She's not looking at him at first. Then she looks at him and he says hi to her. Baby Aunt Vi done passed out. She passes out. Jimmy Dale picks her up. She falls into his arms. He picks her up. This disrespectful ass, and you kind of get a glimpse into the level of disrespect and the level of just the manner in which he would take advantage of her vulnerability, because here she is passed out, can't even fend for herself, and he's rubbing and gently caressing her face and so forth when she's at her most vulnerable and weakest moment. And that was to give you a glimpse into how he would do the same thing. He would take advantage of her and her body at her weakest moments when they were married and when she was young. So that was great writing there. Hollywood then comes in and sees her. He doesn't know who Jimmy Dale is yet. And so he's just kind of glad that there was someone there to kind of catch her. And so when Vi comes back too, Hollywood thinks that she passed out because of the book, and she was like, "Listen, just take me home. Just take me home." Which is, and she doesn't tell Hollywood yet who Jimmy Dale is, and she says, "Just take me home." Next, we see Micah at home. He's reading the book. Micah, Charlie there walks in and sees him reading the book. Charlie's like, "Okay, I guess." In her mind, she's like, "Okay, I guess we got to talk about this." So she tries to talk to him about what's in the book. And they're talking about how, and Micah confronts her with, how could you try to protect Dad after what he did to you, and try to discredit the young lady with the rape allegations. And if you remember, I think that was season 1 or season 2, when it all shook down, Micah was not in a good place with his dad. He was extremely angry with his dad because what his dad had done to his mom, and because of the whole rape thing. Like, Micah still is upset with his dad because of that whole situation. And he just doesn't understand how his mom can try to protect his dad, and how his mom can try to discredit this woman. And so Charlie tries to tell him, listen, yeah, the words in that book are black and white, but situations in life are not really black and white. And we later see that that's foreshadowing, because Micah is only looking at things from his skewed and finite point of view. But Charlie kind of sees more of the picture. And just like she said to him, it's not all black and white. There are gray areas. And we're going to see some of this later in what was my favorite scene of the episode between these two. Next, we have Nova, who's on a FaceTime, or she's doing like a Skype type thing with, I think, one of the editors of the book or whatnot, and tells her she got a love letter from the New York Times. Now, if you know anything about books and writing, if you get a love letter from the New York Times about your book, that is huge news. That means that your book is being celebrated. They love it. Now, here Ratina Wesley, who plays Nova, has such phenomenal acting here. What you see is Nova has both elation and she's both elated and she's mortified all at the same time. And her face shows both emotions simultaneously, equally. And that's a hard thing. I don't know that I can do it. Not acting. I probably could do it, if I had a situation that called for that. But anyway, why? Because Nova, and I just spoke with someone that's really close to me about this feeling that Nova's going through. This is what I call having to suffer in silence. Why is Nova having to suffer in silence? Because those that she normally would lean on and stand on for comfort, to be a safety net, to be a shoulder to cry on, would be her family. But that's broken now. And now she has to emote by herself. She can't outwardly display this emotion because she's supposed to be happy, because the book is coming out, because she's being celebrated and heralded, and everybody wants to congratulate her on the book, and so she'll smile and do that. But what she wants to do is she's coming to grips with how her words is eating away at her family, and where normally she would be able to go to her family to emote and show these emotions and release and vent and all of that, she can't. And so she has to suffer in silence. And I've been there before. And if you've ever had to suffer in silence, it is a lonely place. It is a dark place. And Nova is now sinking into this dark, dark place where she doesn't have anybody to talk to. Remember last week's episode, I talked about how she could not, or she would not really display her emotions with the family, only when she was around people outside of the family. And so now she's at the place where these innermost dark places, she really feels like she has nobody, at least in this episode, to turn to. So there's this whole suffering in silence. And so at this moment, when she gets this good news, she's coming to grips with that. Yeah, I'm going to have to outwardly show, that I'm okay, everything's great, everything's good. Inside, I am suffering and I am hurting. And oh my God, I can relate. I have been there recently. All right, so next we have Ralph Angel and Mr. Prosper at the farm. Ralph Angel talks to Mr. Prosper about Nova writing in the book about Blue. And he doesn't understand how Nova could do that. Mr. Prosper reassures Ralph Angel. Mr. Prosper talks to Ralph Angel about, you know what, my daddy, the man who raised me, wasn't my biological father. He was my father, but he was my daddy. And he's the best thing that ever happened to me in my life. And he reassures Ralph Angel that you are that for Blue. Now, I want to analyze a little bit that relationship between Mr. Prosper and Ralph Angel, because if you note, Mr. Prosper has been he was Ralph Angel's father's best friend. And so he's been the agent of good news. He's been wise counsel. He has been the instrument by which Ralph Angel has been reassured and got good news. When he got the letter about probation, it was delivered to him by Mr. Prosper. And now he has this situation with Blue, and he feels, self-conscious about it. He needs some reassurance, and here comes a Mr. Prosper to step into that role. And he kind of needs that because just like Mr. Prosper talked about, there was this man who was a father figure for him that wasn't his son, and Ralph Angel is being the same thing for Blue. Ralph Angel needs that right now because his dad is gone and his dad is dead. And here we have Mr. Prosper who feels that same road. So it's not that Mr. Prosper is just saying that to Ralph Angel. He's actually being that and demonstrating what he's saying to Ralph Angel about, I'm not your father, but I can be a dad for you. Great writing. Just great writing here. Let me tell y'all something. Just great writing. They're interrupted by this, one of the workers, and Ralph Angel, doesn't have a lot of money, so he has a lot of undocumented workers that are working for him. And he says, come quick, come quick, come quick. He's sick, da 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 da. He's speaking in Spanish, and they go to go see about him. Next, we have Nova, who's on the television program being interviewed or whatever, which is what the little Skype session was about. So they talk about the fact that two families got an advance copy of the book, and they read the book, loved the book. And so this mother and daughter talked about how, oh, well, it took us a while before we really got, after we talked and got our issues out, before we got in a good, and we're still working on getting in a good place with each other. And she asked Nova, how are you and Charlie able to get in a good place with, or a healthy place with each other after everything you wrote in the book? And Nova just lies. She just lies. She's a hypocrite. A whole ass hypocrite. And she's being, and goes back to what I'm saying. She has to put on a happy face. She has to smile. She has to do what she has to do. Outwardly, she's being a hypocrite. She's being a hypocrite. And this is a part of that suffering in silence that she's going to have to do. So she makes up some bullshit. And someone who really has discernment, you can see it written all over her face and body language. She doesn't believe what she's saying. She's lying. She's lying. So then Charlie calls Frances Boudreaux's office. The person answers and says, Frances is out of town. She's not here. She's not taking phone calls. Now, we later find out that she's in D.C., but we'll get there in a second. But she wants to know why she can't vote, but Jacob, Frances' son, the white guy who the white guy who Charlie, was flirting with, they were flirting with each other and all of that stuff in previous seasons, why he can vote, and he got the same amount of shares she got. So then next we see Aunt Vi with Hollywood, and she tells Hollywood who Jimmy Dale is. Hollywood immediately is incensed. He is incensed. He is real angry. Not no play angry. Real angry. Now, this is the kind of anger that I wanted Ralph Angel to have when he first found out about the book. Remember I talked about I didn't like that weak, sensitive, punk-ass, soft Ralph Angel? I wanted him to be like Hollywood was. I wanted that reaction out of him. Because Hollywood had the reaction that a wife wants her husband to have in moments of peril. Oh, he's upset. And he's that kind of upset where it's like, nah, let me handle this. I got this. Let me handle this. So he calls the worker at the diner. He tells her, listen, that dude come back here, don't let his ass in. Then Vi says, listen, you need to let this go, da 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 da. He says, listen, this is a small town. That dude came here to start something, and I'm going to finish it. You know how we are. You know how black people are. When we say you started it, but I'm going to finish it, that is code language for, bitch, I'm finna whoop your ass. I'm finna fuck you up. Bitch, you about to catch these good hands. And he literally said that later in the episode. So you know what that means. And a woman and a family needs that reassurance during these times where they aren't sure about what may be coming. And they need this protector. They want that reassurance. So good stuff here. And that's why I said that's what I wanted Ralph Angel to display when he first found out. about what was in the book. Ralph Angel then calls Charlie and tells her, listen, I'm going to be late with things I got going on here this week with the harvest and everything. And she asks why. He says, listen, one of my best workers, he's sick. She says, listen, I might be able to help you. And she does. And she does help him. And we'll get to that later. Next, we see Micah at the school. Micah is talking to Kiki. Well, he tries to talk to Kiki. Kiki pulls away from him. And Kiki, then, and when they do stop and talk, Kiki says, I don't like this new attitude you got. I don't like this new, like, super aggressive guy. And she says to him, I fell in love with Michael West. And what she's saying to him is this person that you showing me right now is not the Michael West. It's not Michael West. Because the Michael West who I know and who everyone else knows wasn't raised like that. Michael West isn't this, oh, I'm overly aggressive and trying to be overly, masculine and having this whole machismo about him. That's not who I fell in love with, and that's not who I want to be with. Because she's probably thinking, I get enough of that around here. There's enough guys around this school and around this neighborhood that act like that, and you were different, and I don't want that. And so he apologizes to her, but we can see it'll happen again. And what's going to be happen is Kiki's going to be confronted with the Michael West that she knew is probably no more. And that's going to mean trouble for their relationship, because the guy who she fell in love with is not the guy who she still is with now. He's a whole ass different person. And stay tuned. We'll see how this plays out. But Kiki is about to be confronted with that. And I think Micah will continue to have these moments like men do. Men, we fuck up, and then we'll go to our loved one or our mate or whatever and try to apologize and say we're going to do better, when instinctually we're going to fuck up again and do the same thing again. Because it took us a long time as men to really get the picture and really do better and learn from our mistakes, because we are who we are. We're men. We got cojones, testosterone, and it keeps us from doing the right things sometimes. So then we have Charlie. She goes to confront Jacob. She asks him, how the fuck can you go to the fucking board meeting and my stinking ass can't go? He said, listen, my uncle combined my shares with his shares, and he rewrote the bylaws so that it says that anybody who is a member of the family can come to the board meeting whether or not they have enough shares. And listen, those of us who are in organizations and, who are legally minded and different things like that, parliamentary procedures. And what you know is somebody do something you don't like, what do? You change the bylaws. And you change them in a manner to which favors you. That's parliamentary procedures 101. Come on, Robert's Rules of Order. Come on now. So, while she's confronting him and so forth, he's texting her. Because when she first came in the office, to his office, there was a lawyer or consultant, that was there. And she said, why y'all got all these consultants? He said, that's what we do. And he's saying things in front of the consultant, not trying to let her know everything. So he texts her, and she looks at the phone, and I guess the text said something to the fact that, listen, meet me outside, I can't talk. And he kind of does like that, and outside you can see the consultant is outside listening in. And so he goes outside. Now watch this. It was smart of him, but there were ulterior motives to that. And the ulterior motives was he's still trying to get up in Charlie's pants. She's a hot piece of ass, and he wants to stick his white dick in this hot piece of black ass. That's what he want to do. Let's just be honest. So he's going to say and do things that are going to make him look favorably. That are going to make him favorable in the eyes of Charlie. And by him making her feel like she can trust him, because he's going to talk to her outside, not in the earshot of this guy. That'll make her feel, like she can trust him. All the while, she saw through the bullshit eventually, because, he talks about, hey, my mom is in D.C. trying to expand Landry Enterprises. And she said, trying to expand how? He was like, I really can't talk about it. And she was like, oh, okay. So that's how it is. And the thing about it is, because that's still his family. And while Charlie, he may have claimed that he liked her. Really, she probably was just a hot piece of black ass that he wanted to tap. And he's going to be there for his family, for his mom. And so Charlie kind of sees through it and is like, oh, okay, I see you. I see you for who you are. And that's what we have here. Okay, I mean, she confronts him. She said, listen, like, you're complicit in what they're doing. And he is. And so, Charlie's a smart cookie, so she sees through it. And it is what it is. He ain't getting under that. At least I don't think he is, but we'll see. Next, Hollywood confronts Jimmy Dale. He takes Jimmy Dale to some other diner, and he tells him, listen, he tries to handle the civil way. Tries to do the right thing at first. Growing. I see you growing, Hollywood. And he said, listen, let me tell you something. You remember how Ernest whooped that ass? You want some more of that? Stay your ass here in town. Take your ass out of town, or you gonna catch these good hands. He let him know, listen, take your ass out of town, and you gonna catch these good hands. And Jimmy Dale, he patronizes him. He said, okay, I'm gonna go. We knew better. Hollywood is gullible enough to think that Jimmy Dale's gonna go. And he even talks about, yeah, I followed Jimmy Dale, because Hollywood then goes to tell Aunt Vi that, oh, I talked to Jimmy Dale and he agreed to leave, and I ain't even have to fight him or nothing like that. And I even watched him drive on the highway and drive out in his pickup truck. And Aunt Vi knew better. She was like, we'll see. I know this joker. So, you know how I always talk about the symbolism and stuff. So the next two scenes, there's symbolism there, and I'll talk about them in a little bit. So the next scene, we got Bay, Ralph Angel, out on lunch with Ugly Chick. Oh, dear God. And I couldn't focus on what they were saying. I just couldn't. Because we got Ugly Chick over here fucking with Bay. And I just wanted to scratch her eyeballs out. And I know that's wrong, because that's probably her only good feature. She has pretty eyes. That's probably her best feature. But Ugly Chick is, pushing up on Bay. And I will fuck her up. I will fuck her up about Bay. I will claw your eyeballs out, Ugly Chick. Anyway, moving on. Maybe y'all might want to tell me what they were talking about, because I couldn't focus. I kept trying to scratch the TV screen. Scratch her little eyeballs out. Anyway, then we see Charlie and Jorge, Pablo, Consuelo, Enrique, Raul go on a picnic to a park. Go to a park for a picnic. He obviously is the one who Charlie told Ralph Angel, when she said, hey, I can help you with that. So she had Ralph Angel take the undocumented worker to Jorge, Enrique, Raul, Consuelo, Pablo, so he could treat him. And so they start to talk about, maybe forming a pop clinic where, maybe once or twice a week, he could go and have somewhere to go to treat the workers, just to keep them healthy, because they don't feel safe going to a clinic or a hospital because for fear of being deported. And so a lot of them go around with debilitating diseases and injuries and illnesses when they don't have to. And so he sees that as a, that could be a way for him to help them. So, Charlie offers his there's some barracks on the land where the mill is, and he can use that to treat these workers. Great stuff here. Great stuff there. Now, what I wanted to say about these two scenes and the symbolism is, here you have two ancillary characters. You got Ugly Chick and you got Pablo, Raul, Consuelo, Jorge, Enrique. They are important because Ralph Angel and Charlie, normally when they're going through situations, who do they turn to? They'll go and reach out to Nova. And Nova is a person that, big sister, is someone they can go to and talk to and vent and get out their feelings and have an escape from the fuckery that they may have going on in their life. but they don't have that anymore. The family is broken. And so they have to go and find other outlets. And so Ralph Angel got Ugly Chick. Charlie has Jorge Pablo Enrique Consuelo Raul. Okay? And what do they do in this episode? They help them escape. Ralph Angel and the chick went to lunch. Charlie and Dude go on a picnic, and this is their escape, and this is their opportunity to get away from all of the fuckery. And I thought that was great. That was great writing there for them. And so we're going to see these ancillary characters are going to probably, and I hope so, play bigger roles as the season progresses and be mechanisms by which Ralph Angel and Charlie are able to escape all of the bullshit that's going on. So then we have Vi, who's back by herself, reflecting, just like she had to reflect on her past when she was looking in the mirror. She's reflecting. So she has this box. She opens it up. She sees pictures of herself when she's young, and then she has this hospital bracelet. Naturally, and her last name on there is Dale, and this is from probably a time in the past when Jimmy Dale had abused her or and so forth and so on, injured her or caused her some pain, or to the point where she physically had to go to the hospital. And for her to still have that and be holding on to that, that symbolizes that there's still a lot that she's holding on to from Jimmy Dale. Love and hate. Love and hate. There's still a spot in her heart that's being taken up by Jimmy Dale. That's why what Nova wrote in the book was able to affect her so much. And if there's a spot in her heart that is still being housed by feelings for Jimmy Dale, good and bad, that means that those are spots in her heart that is not being taken up by Hollywood, and that's not good for her and Hollywood's relationship. And I want to see how that progresses throughout the season as well. So stay tuned for that. Next we have Ralph Angel and the Ugly Chick back at lunch. And I guess I got to pay attention to what's going on, because y'all are going to want me to review and talk about this and you know, have commentary on that. So I guess I got to pay attention to her and try not to scratch this chick eyeballs out, because this whore is, you know, pushing up on the bay, and I would hate to have to fuck her up. Anyway, Ralph Angel tries to explain to her about his past. Listen, she's a lawyer. She said, oh, I already looked you up. And she says, you know, I know that people aren't just their case files. And so I'm still here with you anyway. I see through you, Ugly Chick, okay? You just trying to get up in the bay pants. And I'm telling you, I will scratch your eyeballs out. I will fuck you up. I will fuck you up, okay? Anyway, moving on. Micah's at the house. He comes home with Kiki. He has hate mail. This is his first time receiving hate mail. And he reads it, and they, you know, use horrible language like filthy mutt, so forth and so on. What does he do? In moments of peril, what does a child do? They go to their mother, especially a son. Yeah, he talked about, oh, I trust Aunt Nova. He trusts the author of the book, who's Aunt Nova. But when shit hit the fan, where did he go? He went back to Mom. And this was my favorite scene in this episode. He's going on and on because his mom says, okay, no problem. I'll handle it. And she seems very reserved. And she seems, you know, real calm about it. And he's like, you know what? We got two different viewpoints on shit I see. And we don't, obviously, you don't understand the severity of this. And this is where, like we talked about earlier, Micah cannot see the full story. He has this skewed and finite view of the situation, and she had to open his eyes and see that everything's not just black and white. There's a lot more going on. There's a lot more parts of the picture than what you're seeing. So she starts to pull out all of the hate mail that he had gotten, all the way back to the day after he had given that speech. Unbeknownst to him, he didn't even know about any of it. Didn't know his mom is the one who actually sent him on that trip overseas to Europe and to Paris. Didn't know that his mom had a secret security detail following him around to keep him safe. No idea. So all that talk about, oh, I trust Aunt Nova, she's always the only one here for me, this, that, and the third. He had no knowledge of everything that Charlie had been doing, of all of the chess pieces she had to move to get him to a safe place where he could go over there and find himself, and he could go over there and safely do all of these changes and have this moment where he could, become this other person. All of that was only because she created this bubble around him, and she's letting him know, no, 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 I did this. I created this bubble for you. I am protector. I am the one that has been doing this. And he had this, this moment where he, had this, aha moment where it was like, wow. And it was so great that I just really love how she reassures him here. And what I saw in this is, yes, Micah might try to go to Aunt Nova for all of the right and wrong reasons, and for all of the reasons that he's talked about and we've talked about before. But what he has with Nova cannot and never will replace what he has with his mom. And he's reassured of this here. And I think Charlie needed that as well, because if you remember last episode, she went off on Nova about the fact that, hey, this shit is about to change. How my son looks at me. And she knew, and I think that's why she let him in on everything that she'd been doing. So she could have that moment to bring her son back into her own and reassure him that I'm still here, I'm still mom. So, and also, the other crippling thing, and I think maybe this will come out later, is for all of the relationship that Nova has with Micah, she's never going to have what Charlie has with Micah. It's no way. And will she ever have that with anybody? Because Nova doesn't have any kids. Powerful stuff here. Phenomenal writing. Great writing. Listen, kudos to the writers. Great writing. So then Ralph Angel goes over to Darla. He talks to Darla and tells her about the fact that Nova put the fact of Blue's paternity in the book. And Darla says, well, listen, if she wrote about Blue, she probably had to write about our past. Did she write about our past? And Ralph Angel admits, well, I really didn't read any other parts of the book except for the parts about Blue. And, they talk that out, and they talk about, how dare she, so forth and so on. But I'm curious to see, maybe this is foreshadowing, because some of the things that Darla was saying, Darla's already upset, and Darla is kind of more so upset for Ralph Angel, and a little bit about what that means for Ralph Angel, and a little bit what that means for her. But I think Darla already sees the writing on the wall, even though she doesn't know it, that there has to be some stuff about us and our past. And I know Darla doesn't want that to get out to the general public. And so finally, we're confronted with the biggest two scenes of the episode. Jimmy Dale comes over to the house. Vi's alone at the house. Jimmy Dale is outside the door, and you see right there, remember I talked about this place in Vi's heart that she still has for him. There's this hold that Jimmy Dale still has on her. And Vi, when she sees him, you see her, she's almost entranced at that point. Eyes get big. She seems like she's in this, catatonic state almost. She's entranced. You feel like she didn't want to let him in, which is why she was talking to him through the door at first, and then ultimately, with his words, he's able to get to her and cut to that place in her heart that she's still in. He tries to sweet talk to her, but at one point, and I don't know if you caught it, he said something to her. I think he called her name or something, but the manner, the intonation, the inflection, and the voice in which he said it, you can tell harkened back to when they were married, and there was this aggressive tone to him, and it even made me kind of tense up a little bit. And Nova then shows up. And Nova comes in, and he said, glad to see you again. And so Vi says again. And then he tries to grab Vi. And Vi tries to pull away and is unable to. And so they have to forcibly push him and force Jimmy Dale out of the house. Push him out. Who's rolling up at that moment? Charlie. Not Charlie, Lord God. Hollywood. Hollywood is showing up, and baby, Baby Shark do 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 do. He is here for it. Listen, listen. That Hollywood went over there and dragged that young man, and like he said, he had to catch them good hands. Oh, he's whooping him something decent. Now, here's the part that was made for television. So you got Aunt Vi and Nova over here pulling Hollywood off. We know in real life there was gonna be no pulling Hollywood off of that young man, Jimmy Dale. But it's television, so I'll go with it. They're able to pull him off and restrain him. Child, we know better in real life. They wouldn't have been able to do that. Anyway, fucking Jimmy Dale continues with his disrespect. I mean, he's just a whole ass disrespectful. Oh, you ain't never been nothing but Ernest's little sister and a hot piece of ass. And I don't regret. I came over here to apologize for what I did to you in the past, but I don't apologize for shit. Da 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 da. Just a whole ass disrespectful. Disrespectful. So they go in the house. Vi is wrapping up Hollywood's bloody knuckles and stuff like that. Nova tries to explain everything. Nova admits she went to go talk to Jimmy Dale for the book to get his side of the story. And what that said to me is this: if you're going to get his side of the story, that means that you did not trust what Vi told you about her and Jimmy Dale. That means that whatever Aunt Vi told you, you didn't believe her. So much so you had to go get what you thought was the real story or his side to the story. And so Aunt Vi has to deal with, not only did you put all my business out to the world, the fact that you went to go see this rat ass bastard to quote unquote get his side simply means that you did not trust me. You did not believe what I told you. And here's this betrayal of trust again. Okay? And she says, and I wrote down, because she said, now I believe you. And I wrote in my notes, now you believe her? Question mark. Now you understand? Question mark. So why didn't you understand? If you love me so much and you were, we supposed to be family, why didn't you believe me when I told you at first? Why would you think I would lie to you about something like that? So Vi, listen, if the writers never write nothing else, if every episode from here on out is bad, the writers are, listen, they are owed extra money for the dialogue that Vi had with Nova at this point. Listen, let me tell you something. Every word, letter, syllable, and character of what Vi says to Nova at this point just was like body blows. Just like she had katana blades just slicing her up. It sliced me up. And it didn't even involve me. I didn't even do nothing wrong. And I was like, everything, I'm telling you, every word, syllable, letter, and character of what Aunt Vi said made me go, ooh, 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 ooh. It cut. I'm telling you. Stuff like, I mean, of course, she starts off by saying your daddy would be ashamed and your mama would do what I'm about to do now. Bringing the mom and the dad in there started it off with the body blows. But then she said stuff like, listen, 10 years couldn't put enough distance between us. I don't even need you bringing flowers. Don't even bring flowers to my grave. She told her, listen, never come back to me. And I think the part that probably cut the deepest was when she said her full name, Nova Bordelon. And what that was to symbolize is you're not family anymore. You're not Nova. You're not my little niece anymore. You don't have this familial love for me anymore. We don't have that familial relationship anymore. You're just a stranger to me. You're no longer family. And that was why she had to call her by her name, by the government, Nova Bordelon, as if she was a stranger. And she tells her, get out and never grace her doorstep again. And you see Nova, she walks out and the tears are streaming down, and she has that moment again. She has to suffer in silence. She has to emote and give off all of these emotions alone by herself. And I don't think she fully realized when she wrote the book. Yeah, you're trying to help everybody in America, you're trying to help everybody else, but what good is it to help everybody if you're hurting yourself? It's kind of like when you're on the plane and the flight attendants say before you secure someone else's mask or your child's mask, make sure you secure your own mask. You can't help nobody if you're hurting. So all this help you want to give to everybody else, but you're killing yourself and you killed the family. Great stuff. That was the whole episode. Listen, let me tell y'all something. Writers, y'all get to write as an extra little, bonus. That was this week's episode. I hope y'all like. I'm not sure. I don't even know if I was paying attention whether or not they'll be back next week or in 2 weeks because of the holiday. Whenever it comes back, we'll be back here again next week. Y'all put commentary. I want to hear your commentary. I am here for the commentary because I try to respond to everyone's comments. So leave your comments and we can have dialogue that way about it. I'm glad y'all like it. I'm glad you came to watch me. Appreciate you for being here. And I'll catch y'all again next week. Thank y'all for coming. Same bat time, same bat station. Thank y'all for coming. Y'all drive safely. I'm out, y'all.